Hello, guys. I hope you're doing okay and everything is working for you. So, today we're going to talk about another aspect of dysfunctional families. As I said, we'll talk about new angles all the time. Today, we're going to talk about emotionally unavailable parents and emotionally unavailable kids. And you will see how it's a cycle that keeps going on until a person chooses to break it. Before going any further, let me just say what being emotionally unavailable is. Being emotionally unavailable means you completely ignore the emotional part of the relationship. You completely ignore the feelings, the sadness, the you have zero level of accountability for the emotional part of the relationship because you don't think that it's important and you don't think that it's valuable. I will stay in the African setting because I feel like that's something we have been taught. We have been taught that emotions are useless. Emotion will stop you from getting where you want to go. Emotions will not help you. Emotions will stop you from realizing your dreams, and emotions are not what you need. And I will not stand here and pretend that if you make every decision out of emotion that you will be able to be productive. Absolutely not. But I think the thing we fail to do is to teach people to not that rather than ignore your emotion, how about learn to validate them and manage them. Learn to validate why am I feeling that and what is the best way for me to react during that. The problem and the reason why we can do that is because most of the people who raised us, especially for my generation, did not see emotions as indicators of a problem. They just saw them as a nuisance and as an inconvenience, so they ignored it. That is why we have emotionally unavailable parents. Now imagine God puts you in a position where you have to raise this human. You have to teach them how to do life, how to have conversation with people. You have to teach them how to deal with their feelings. You have to teach them how to go to school, how to do whatever. And then you are emotionally unavailable. And you don't know how to validate their fears. You don't know how to validate their strength. You don't find it important to do that. You don't find it important to encourage them, to tell them they're good, to tell them that I know that you're scared this moment, but there's a way out. To tell them, and I'm sure as someone will be watching, they'll be like, we don't need this as c'est pour les blancs. Yeah, that is why you're traumatized. But hey, I digress. Anyway, you don't really teach people how to manage their emotions, and I feel like that is the biggest issues with most adults now. Most adults now have zero idea how to manage their emotions. They have zero idea how to even go about it, and most of them choose to ignore them. So they perpetuate the cycle of being emotionally unavailable. And one thing that I've learned is that unavailable parents make emotionally unavailable kids. And emotionally unavailable kids just keep the cycle that their parents gave them. You go on in this life, you keep ignoring how you're feeling, you keep ignoring how you're doing. You feel a deep darkness, a deep pit inside of you, but you don't know how to deal with it because you don't even know what it is. Sometimes you don't know what that you're scared. You don't know that maybe it's that you are angry. You don't know that maybe it's that you are jealous. Why don't you know? Because you were never taught to deal with feelings. So you don't know how to recognize which one it is. So we have a bunch of adults walking out here in this life confused about their own feelings. And people will be like, oh, you don't know how to express your feelings. I don't know what they are. I have no idea what they are. Sometimes I just find out I'm angry about I'm someone says something and my reaction is anger. And I don't even know why. I don't even know why am I feeling angry in this moment. I don't even know why am I feeling sad in this moment. Why am I feeling this and this? It's because well, nobody taught you how to manage your feelings. And as you become an emotionally unavailable adult, you start realizing that okay, this is a rough way of doing life, especially for people from my generation, especially those who carry and who find mental health important now. You are trying to now learn to undo something that was taught to you. And one thing that no one tells you is unlearning something is way harder than learning something. Unlearning a behavior you've had for years is way harder than learning something new. So now you have adults who are trying to navigate being emotionally available for themselves first before even being that for people. And as you learn to be that adult, as you learn to um I feel like that's my personal experience as I learned to be more emotionally available for myself. Not that I've never been that I'm emotionally unavailable per se, but if you grow up in an African home, you grow up ignoring your feelings because they don't matter, because they won't be validated and people won't care anyway. So as you grow in that sense and you're starting to validate your feelings, and that is a rough and difficult process, you learn to have more grace for your parents. You learn to have more grace for the people who came before you because you realize that no one taught them. No one told them they should do that. No one told them they were proud of them. No one created a culture of them being complimented. No one taught them that. For them, it was literally even worse than you. And you learn to have a little more grace because you're like, they didn't have a footprint, a blueprint either. So the best thing I can do right now is just forgive them for what they didn't do right and move on. But here's the thing that now is hard to deal with. When you get to become an adult and you're trying to adjust, you've understood that you've been emotionally unavailable for a long time. Now you're trying to be more emotionally available. So you are less toxic than you were before. You learn to be healthier. Now your parents are still unavailable. Now you get to a point where you are a very emotionally available person, and emotional and an emotionally available person values the emotional part of relationship because they create stronger bonds. Now you have a parents who don't care about that. Now I'm a person who is healing, and the fact that I'm healing puts me at odds with my parents' situation. The fact that I'm healing doesn't make it better for us, it makes it worse. Because when you're emotionally available, there's a certain level of reciprocity that is expected for the relationship to even be successful in any way. And now you can have that with your parents, and that might drive you apart. That's why, as you see, especially for my generation, there are a lot of people who don't have relationship with their parents, and it's not because they are mean or because they are horrible. For the people who say, "Oh, you only have one dad, you only have one mom," that is true, but I cannot just stay in an abusive situation for the rest of my life, even though they're my parents. I'm not saying that the solution, but that's just one of the points that people give. And the fact that now I'm emotionally available and my parents aren't puts us in a position where I'm like, being around you isn't healthy anymore. Being around you does not help me anymore. How do you navigate that? How do you navigate that level of dysfunction where we were both broken? Now I'm trying to heal, but keeping a relationship with you keeps me broken. What do I do? Do you see the level of dysfunction? Do you see the level where you're like, how do we navigate this? We need counseling. We need help. We need people that will help us walk through this. If you can go to a cardiologist for your heart problems, for issues like this, you need a therapist. And I will keep saying this in every videos that I can say it. You need to see someone because you cannot get out of this issue on your own. And I think one of the best way to deal with this situation, what I have learned, you have to let go of the idea of what reconciliation looks like with your parents. And I think that's where a lot of people miss it. Where you're like, when we will be healed, we will be like this, and this, and this. Maybe you're the only person who wants to heal. Maybe even if your parents heal, there's some expectation they will not be able to meet. So you have to mourn and grieve for the version of reconciliation you were expecting and be open to what your situation in reality could look like. Maybe your parents don't want to change. Maybe your parents don't want to adjust. They don't know. And sometimes healing is hard. So having the emotional capacity and drive and for healing is a lot. And I've seen that the generation of our parents most don't really have it. So what do you do then? Do you just cut them off? Or do you find a way to cohabitate in a very difficult situation? So yeah, that's how dysfunction looks in that manner. And it's so complex because I'm sure it even goes way deeper than what I'm saying. Because when you have an emotionally unavailable parent, you just don't want to tell them nothing, especially when you start healing. You don't want to hear their opinion. You know they will criticize you. You know they will not encourage you. You know they will not value how you feel. You know they will not respect your boundaries at all because they don't. And another way of for me to growing from this is creating strong boundaries. And the issue with strong boundaries is that your parents will see it as you trying to um, dictate how they have relationship with you, and that is basically what you're doing. You like, if this is how you're going to behave, if this is what you're going it like they will feel like you treat them like kids. They feel like you exactly they feel like treat them like kids because you're like, I will not accept for you to talk to me like this anymore. I will not accept for you to mentally abuse me. I will not accept for you to call me names. If you're calling me names, conversations are over. If in a conversation you start raising your voice, the conversation is over. That one might work, especially if the parents want a relationship with you, because they know that if they want to talk to you, they will come at you a different way. But the but the example I'm these examples that I'm giving are for issues where emotional abuse is present, and with emotionally unavailable parents, abuse is just a uh, what's the word? Just something that will come with it. That's for sure. If you don't know how to manage emotion, you will definitely abuse them. So one way to work through it, as I said, is strong boundaries. And that's very hard, especially if you're not used to having boundaries and you now start having them. They'll be like, who do you think you are? Do you think you're this, and this? But just hold on tight and stay to your boundaries. But I understood really with time one of the best way to grow in these spaces and to get out of the dysfunction, you teach people how to treat you. You really do. And it's hard. Yeah, and it's really hard. So now you have been healing from being emotionally unavailable because, well, that's all you had. Now you have to deal with your parents who are still unavailable, who maybe don't desire to heal like you do. How do you build healthy bonds with people who don't want to heal? I don't think you can, personally. I think you have to cut your losses and adjust what that relationship should look like so that you don't drown again. And that's really hard. That's why I'm saying for such things, it's good to see a therapist. It's good to see somebody who will give you tips on how to still keep a relationship with your parents, but feel like you respected your boundaries, that you respected yourself, and that you were still trying to heal and you didn't stop on your healing journey. So, emotional unavailability is a big problem in most of our youth. That's why a lot of relationships don't last because people don't know how to deal with their own feelings, but you want them to deal with you. They won't be able to. But the healing starts when you acknowledge the problem. And the moment you acknowledge the problem and you are willing to go to the next step, you can. But that is another form of dysfunction in family that is very toxic. Well, yeah. Okay. We'll talk about another type of dysfunction the next time I make another video. I won't give you a date, so you don't come for me if I don't do that. So, other than that, I hope this helped you in any type of way to navigate relationship with your family if there's that level of emotional unavailability. I'm not an expert. I don't have a license yet, but I feel like that these are just suggestions. I didn't tell you to go do nothing. So if something goes wrong, don't come to me. Anyway, yeah. Blessings, guys.